Hello everyone and welcome to Create with Chris. I am Chris Haughey and today I'm going to be sharing how to add a wow factor using stencils. Thank you for joining me today with me to answer questions and comments is Lindsay, who will be fielding all of that. Today we are talking about how to add a wow factor with stencils, and I love using stencils, but I'm not a big fan of just plain stencils. And I think to add a wow factor, it just makes such a huge difference in the way that a design turns out. I love to create something that's impressive, that's super simple, and everybody goes, "How did you do that?" And you just smile and say, "It was a lot of work." No, you can share your secrets. So it all boils down to using stencils is a perfect solution to eliminate that fear of painting. If you're afraid of painting a circle, I cannot paint a round circle for love nor money. So I always use a circle stencil, and all of my round, whatever it is, and anything I paint is going to look good and be perfect. It just gives me confidence and peace of mind and takes that stress out. And we do this because it's fun. So if you're stressing out about a technique, there has to be a better way. That's kind of how I approach painting. I want it to look good. I want to have fun and enjoy it. So if there's a roadblock, we just need to figure out how to make it work out. Stenciling provides many avenues to add really, really impressive touches. And you get a nice professional result. And I think that's what we're all looking for. We want to ensure clean, crisp edges. It just boils down to the proper tools and the proper application. It's not difficult. I think a big factor in the use of stenciling is just common sense. So keep that in mind. If you did not follow me I guess it's been about a month ago, I did a video on how to the secrets of perfect stenciling. So if you missed that video, please go to my YouTube channel, Create with Chris, and take a look at, I have a lot of videos there that are filled with techniques and tips to make your painting life a little bit easier and a lot more fun. So go to Create with Chris. Do me a favor, give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel because that does help me out. So what do you need to get perfect stenciling and add that wow factor? Good brushes, good stencils, quality paint, and painter's tape. And I did go over this with my last secrets of perfect stenciling. Again, that's on my YouTube channel, Create with Chris. So go there and take a look at that. It kind of gives you the quick overall of creating perfect stenciling. I do have my own line of stencil brushes. I worked a couple years to create just a perfect stencil brush because I am not good at stenciling, and I figured out it wasn't me, it was the brushes I was using. So I decided to create one that would make me look really, really good every time. So I thought probably the easiest thing to do would be to share some of the designs that I have created and give you a little insight on what I did with stencils, because I think when you look at this design, you wouldn't think it was created with stencils. What I like to do, because we manufacture all of our stencils here at Cupboard Distributing, I like to create I call it a design stencil that has all of the elements on it, so you don't have to buy 15 stencils to do one design. I put it all together, and you can see October 31, there's a little spider. I have the bats. I did his mouth, his eyeball, because I said I'm not good at doing round things. There's his iris and his little pupil. So, you know, everything's in here to make it easy. One of the things that I wanted to do on the stenciling, and they have little bridges in there that make it look like there's a little line. So after I stencil the letters, I always take a brush and kind of fill that bridge in so it's not left out. You can leave that in there. It's all a matter of personal preference. But when I did this, I wanted more than, I'm going to turn that light out. I think I've got a bad glare. I wanted to look more than just like a plain stenciled letter. So what I did was, and I'm just going to get grabbed a quick stencil here. Loading the brush, again, I covered this on Create with Chris, Secrets of Perfect Stenciling. One of the key secrets of good stenciling is loading your brush correctly. And I like to really work it in my bristles, but if I just plop down, I'm gonna have a lot of paint on there. So I brush off the excess. And I'm just gonna lightly, let's just do a little bit of this. I'm just doing a light swirl. And I like to go both ways, and that kind of covers it really well. Now, if this were on a surface other than white, I probably would have to do a couple coats, but you can see, looks really, really nice. But if I want to add a little bit of shading or highlighting on that, I'm just going to go in with maybe a darker color. And I'm just going to use the same brush. And I can, one of the things I did when I created these brushes, I can just dip it in water, wash it out, towel dry it, and I can use that same brush. I don't have to wait until it dries. Okay, I've got a little bit. I didn't shake my paint up well enough. Let me put a little more out there. You know how it gets kind of, it has that in there to keep it from, to keep your paint fluid. I don't want to get down here in the brush. I can use painter's tape, or I can just grab another little stencil. Just going to go on the bottom half and darken that down. Maybe I want to do the top half as well. And you'll see a little gradation between light and dark. See how that flows together? If I wanted to soften that even more, I could get a lighter color and go down the middle. Another thing I can do is just grab find my brush here. Instead of putting a gradation with paint and the stencil brush and paint, I could just kind of dry brush down the center with a lighter color. I didn't bring white out, but I have some blue, so we can do a little thing with blue. Play around with it. Using stencils is no different than trying to create with a line drawing and regular paint brushes. Once you get the base coat on here, you can play around with it and do whatever you want. So I can go down here and just highlight, like a little dry brush to highlight that. Do I need to zoom in, Lindsay, or is that showing up well?
Well, I haven't gotten to where you're at yet.
Okay.
I think it's showing up okay.
Okay. This would look much better if it were white, but you get the idea. You can go in and brighten those up. I can even go back with, I'm going to take some of that same blue, you know, do the little dip dots. Add a little line down. So once you get your letters base coated in, you can go back and shade them and highlight them. You can use the stencil or just grab your paintbrush and add the stems, or add the highlights and the shading that easily. It's a great way on the October night to remember. You can see I had the candle flame down here, so I wanted to really make those letters glow from that flame of the candle. So even though they were a cool blue, I went back with the warm colors from the candle to brighten that up. So when you look at this, you can't tell me these look like they were stenciled. I went in and shaded and highlighted. Once I got those base colors in there, then I could work my magic with a paintbrush. I love how this turned out. I even went down and added a little line on the edge. It's just a super fun way to get a perfect design without working extra hard. Okay, another element of shading or of stenciling is adding beautiful backgrounds. And I created this. This is from our new line of door hangers. I love these. If you guys are looking for something that's fun and quick and impressive, these door hangers are fantastic. What I like most, all these pieces are separate, so you can go in and paint them all individually, and then you just assemble them. Talk about super easy. In the background, I wanted it to look like it was kind of a blustery day. We have a lot of snowflakes, all different sizes of snowflake stencils that are available. But because I wanted to make this easy, I went ahead and created a design stencil for this design. You can see down here, and I think this is such a cool element. I wanted his sweater or scarf to look like it was a knit. So I just took this knit stencil and I stenciled over that. Does that show up well?
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Little delay.
Okay.
There you go.
I wanted to create that look of a knit. So after I stenciled this on, I went in and I shaded in between each row, and then I added my shading and highlights. Loved how it turned out. I thought it was super simple. The eyeballs, I did use the egg stencils for those, but I believe these are etched into the plaque, so you just paint them.
Same with the mouth dots.
Yeah, these are in there, but I cheated and I used my painter's pal on that because it's just so much easier. On the hat band, I wanted a little bit of a design, so I used, this is the Flourish stencil, and I just put a little section of that on here. I like to use stencils that can be used over and over and over. But the cool thing is this background, and I'm going to go the wrong way. Oh, no, I didn't. The background is, I think, what really makes this look kind of frosty and blustery. This is called Dress to Chill. Just a super fun, quick, easy door hanger, and I think it's adorable. I love how this turned out. I did use my stencil brushes to blush the cheeks too, so because they are so soft, it's just really easy to get that perfect cheek. All right, another element that you can use for the stencils, and I did quite a bit of stenciling on this. I put the lettering on the cart. I added a little bit of design in the background, which is always a super way to dress up a pattern. This is another YouTube video. I kind of honed in on it a little bit more thoroughly on Create with Chris, Magic of Modeling Paste. And when I stenciled this lace down the outer edge, it was very bland. It didn't show up well. So I thought, why not use a little bit of modeling paste? So I simply took the stencil, positioned it, make sure you anchor it down well. And then I just took my palette knife and I smoothed modeling paste over it. And I covered that really well in the Magic of Modeling Paste on my YouTube video. But that not only gave more opacity to that lace design, but also gives dimension, which is very, very impressive. And you can go back, if you want to use modeling paste for the background, you can go back and dry brush over it, wash over it, paint over it, but you're going to always get that raised design, which can be really interesting and very intriguing and very professional results. People are just like, everybody has to touch it. It's just quite a cool technique to use on any design. It just ramps it up that much more. Alrighty, this is one that I painted, and then after I painted it, I just had the stencil made up for the lettering. You know, everybody fusses over lettering because it's kind of a pain in the neck. If it's not painted well, it just doesn't look good, and we all want it to turn out well. What I liked about this is that little bit of drop shadow to the side. To me, that really makes such a huge difference on giving it dimension and raising it up. Another easy element to create, and I'm going to go with, since I've got the paint already out, we'll just stick with this blue. Well, load the brush and then wipe that excess off. I'm going to we'll just do a couple letters here. And I use a light swirl. You can tap it. If you do a light swirl, you're going to get more of a dry brush effect. If you tap it, it's going to be a little more opaque. So we'll let that dry for a second. You can see this little bubble down here. That almost looks like a real bubble. That really turned out nice. So pay attention when you do things, because you can run across some really unique results unexpectedly. And just want to clean that stencil. If you let paint dry on your stencil and you're going, oh, how do I clean it now? I do like to use Deco Magic from Deco Arts brush and stencil cleaner. It's a great way to keep your stencils in good shape. One thing about stencils, if you don't have quality stencils or you have thick stencils, the edges can build up and then you get a really kind of a lumpy edge on that. Okay, I'm going to line it up. I'm going to shift it up and I'm going to shift it over. And because I don't want this to move around, I'm going to tape it down really well. Just going to get a lighter blue. Maybe I should have done it the other way around, but I want to make sure it shows up well. Always know that 2 light coats, you're going to get a better result than 1 heavy coat. And because I want this to cover well, I'm just going to pounce to get a more solid coverage. So I don't have to do 2 coats, because I want to go through this rather quickly. And even though I want it to cover well, I'm still going to go back when I reload and take that excess paint off. If you want clean, crisp edges, take your time. Going faster, loading more paint on your brush is not a good solution. Okay, oh, look at that. Doesn't that look cool? It just really adds that nice dimension underneath that is quite impressive. Now, I would go back with my brush and just fill in this bridge. I should have done that on the underpainting. There's a little gap there. Do you have to do this? No. I kind of think it looks more hand painted if you fill in those bridges, but there's a lot of times I'll just use that as part of the design element. totally a matter of personal preference. So drop shadows. A great way to add dimension. And then I went back and just decorated the letters a little bit with some dip dots and some lines. Just really, what a difference between that and just a plain flat letter. This is probably one of my favorite designs, and it has that just really interesting background. This is Nevermore, and I think this is a class that's available on our website. I did teach this at one time. Love this background. I came across, I was looking at some scrapbooking pages, and they had some really cool backgrounds in scrapbooking, and I thought, oh, that is very interesting. It was polka dotted and very distressed, and they had ripped the paper, and I thought, you know, I think I can do that. So I did create a stencil. We have these polka dot stencils individually, and this is the postscript. I use this one a tremendous amount. Love the script. But I did use this in the background, and then the polka dots, layered it up, just kind of sponged it on. It's just a fun design on these berries. I used the painter's tools, and actually I used the leaf to stencil all those leaves on. So I didn't have to hand paint them. I'm not lazy, honestly. I just want it to look good. This is a super way to create a really impressive design. Love this distress look. It just, to me, that's background just really sets the mood for this design. Very easy with just that little bit of script, a little bit of distressing, add that layering. Sometimes I spend more time in the background than the foreground, because that's what's going to draw it in. Keep the foreground simple, the background interesting. You don't want too much in both places, because then it becomes a little bit overpowering and your eye doesn't quite know where to look. But the very subtle distressed background gives this a really nice base to put that pumpkin and raven on. Okay, speaking of interesting backgrounds, I did a series of tiered trays, and I have so much fun. I've done them for, I think, just about every season. This one is my Halloween tiered tray. It's probably one of my favorite ones because I loved the background. I just thought this turned out super cool. It's just a very simple technique. I painted the background just a plain, it's probably antique white, I'm not really sure. Love this stencil. We came out with a line of, they're called distress stencils. Collage stencils, sorry. I'm on distress mode, I think. But they have such beautiful elements on it. And I did not want to use the flowers. I wanted this to be very gothic. So I just kind of focused on these elements of the stencil that I thought were the coolest part. And I just very lightly stenciled these and then did a little distressing around the outer edge. But what a difference. To me, if this were a plain background again, it would be just rather boring. So adding these background to start out with is just really going to set the mood. Tone on tone. This was a real simple background. Again, I used that collage stencil. This was a different one, but it has some harlequin in it. So I put the harlequin down one side, the design down the other. Just kind of makes that background subtle, but very interesting. Oh, this is a fun one. The drop shadow that I used on the letters, I did that on this design on both corners. I just think that was, almost looks like antique wallpaper. And it's just a real simple, I put the design down. Where is it at here? I put the design down, I stenciled it a dark color, I shifted it, and then I very lightly stenciled the top. Doesn't that look beautiful? I just think it looks like antique wallpaper, and it just adds just a little bit of elegance in the background on this. Love how this effect is, and I have used this several times, and I probably will use it a lot more because I love that effect. It's just very impressive, and I don't think you can get this. I mean, it only took just a couple minutes with a stencil, but to do that with a paintbrush, I'm always going, oh my gosh, I don't think so. I'm not going to spend that much time. Okay, this is another one where this was kind of interesting. Well, just a little bit. I used this Brocade stencil to stencil this design, but after I put it on there, it just looked kind of blah. So I took my angle brush and I just shaded around each part of that design. Can you see how that just adds a little bit of depth? So I didn't do a drop shadow. I just went back and added little touches of shading. And you might think that takes forever, but no, it goes very, very quickly. Love how this gives that nice border edge, and then I did a shade down the side to set it off. I used another one of these collage stencils in the background. Can you see this? Look at all the different designs on this. Is this not beautiful? I mean, you can use this one, you can have the music notes, there's script on it, Harlequin. There's just so many elements on here that you can transition into a design and just add that extra wow to it.
And it should be noted that the collage stencils, most of them come in 2 sizes.
If you didn't hear that, collage stencils come in this 8.5 by 11?
Roughly, yeah.
Somewhere around this size and this size. So all of them mostly come in that way. So
Except
you
for
have
the
a
newest.
choice.
The newest one we didn't.
Oh, maybe we
That
will.
one that we just put up, yeah.
Yeah, we just came out with 2 new ones, and but who knows? Okay, this is a fun design. This is a little chick and a carrot, and it's freestanding. I don't know how to do that on the camera. Okay, pretend it's freestanding. But when I painted the carrot, I wanted it to have a little more than just orange. So I did that tone on tone. I used that same stencil I used for the gnome to add a little bit of interest on here. It just ramps it up a little bit. Another fun thing that I like to do is add design inside of a design. And you might wonder, how do you do that? Oh, it's so easy. And I'll just so if I have a circle and I want to have a design behind it, or if I want a round ball that's, let's just pick a part of a design here. And I'm going to anchor it down. Let me find a brush that has some paint in it here. And I'll just go around. I should have painted it first. It'll probably look kind of weird. But when I lift it up, you should have a round circle with a design in it. So if I were to, let's just pretend here. I'm going to go ahead and see how I go around the edge? I can even give that look of kind of a dimension just with the shading on there. Let's go back and pick up a little bit of that darker color. deepen it just a little more with some blue. It'll give me kind of a nice purpley color. It should show up better. Stick my design underneath. We've already got our edge, so you want to put your design underneath. And then I can go back and stencil over that. And this should show up really well. If I want to, I can go back and even make the edges darker, but see how you can fit that design in there very, very easily. Design in design. And what I did on this, I used the egg stencil to stencil my eggs, and then I just went back and stuck a stencil on top of that and stenciled in the design. I used this one because I love the design on this. This is so much fun for a filler design. It has such pretty delicate designs on it. So I used one design for the tulip, the egg, and the carrot. Kind of helps coordinate it and pull it all together. And this one was on the cover. This one is decorative touches with the stencil. This is another one of my favorite stencils. This is a collage stencil. I love this design, and I've used this over and over. But on this one, I just wanted part of it. So I decided, and you can flip it over, but I decided to put this part on here, and then I flipped it over, and I can put this part here, and you kind of tape it off so you can create your own shapes. You don't have to do the whole thing, or you don't have to use like this part over here. I just want a little bit over here. Beautiful design. It just needed that one more thing to make it look good. So I think adding this, and I did use the two-tone. Actually, I did 3 colors on this because I put the dark, the medium tone, and then a lighter tone. Play around with it. You get some beautiful effects. Lettering. I said nobody likes lettering. So I did. We have heart stencils. Nobody likes to paint hearts either. Oh my gosh, just do a drop shadow with the hearts. Pop these little guys in there. These are on the stencil. This is one I did just for this. Stenciled all those little words in there. These I did not go back and connect because they were so tiny. Didn't seem like it was a big deal. But adding this drop shadow, decorating the letters. I mean, how easy is that? This does all the hard stuff. There's even the round for the lollipops or the cake pops. What a difference. What a difference. And then on the hat, I use the little hearts from our painter's tools. I'm going to do just a few more fun elements. This is my Frogenstein. I love him. He was in my sketchbook for quite a few years before I painted him. Most of this is just painted, but I wanted to add bats in the background. And can you see these little hints of subtle bats flying around? I used our bat stencil, and I just did a real light dry brush to make it look like there were a lot of bats. Then I jumped up to the bigger bats, stenciled those a little bit darker, and then just added the shading and highlighting and little eyes just to make it pop. But I think all those little bats fluttering in the background is what makes this, kind of ramps it up a little bit. To go in there and try to paint all those with a brush, you can do it, but why not use a painting tool like a stencil to just really make it go very, very quickly. Okay, we've got just a couple more here. This was Sugar Rush. It has a border that is separate from the plaque. I tried all different colors, and I thought, you know, I went in and added a lot of this aqua touches in there just to kind of make it look a little more Halloween-y. And so I decided, I wonder what would happen if I stenciled the frame on it. Love how it turned out. After I stenciled it, I went back and shaded around the inner and the outer edge of the frame, and I think it's just perfect. This is another one of my fun designs that I love doing. I have a love-hate relationship, I guess I should say, with lace, but we came out with a series of lace stencils. How many do we have? 8?
8 doilies stencils.
And they're 2 different sizes. We have a little set of stencilettes, are just adorable, and then this size, which I think is like a 6.5. This, I just put this on here, and most people say, no, you did something. No, it's just, it is that stencil, and you can see how perfectly it matches. All I did was I stenciled it on there, and then I went back and worked magic with my regular brushes. And I did do a video on this on YouTube, Country Daisies and Old Lace. So this is probably one of my favorite techniques to do because it's so impressive and it's so simple. And I've seen a lot of you gals that have shared creating doilies with the stencils, and they are absolutely beautiful. This is one of my newer designs, and I had a chicken wire design just so I could do this, but I didn't just stencil the wire. Went back and added just a little touch of highlight on that. Huge difference. Isn't that not awesome? I just love that. I think that's a little bit of highlight on there is the element that ramps it up. I wanted to add a little bit of design to the booth, so I created a stencil. This one has the eggs on it, so you can put eggs in the nest. You don't have to hand paint those. The little checkerboard, because we all know how much checkerboard is fun to paint. And then the designs on the bottom, and then up here on the top. So I try to do these stencils to go with the designs. However, it's really fun to collect a bunch of, I would call them generic stencils that everyone loves to do. Alrighty, so I think we've covered stenciling very quickly, but I think you get an idea of how it can open up a whole new world for adding professional touches. It just, the options are endless, and I think it's going to take the stress out of painting, which we all are looking for that solution so that we can paint beautifully and not have to work so incredibly hard. Take the stress out. A little bit of paint makes a big difference. Play around with the stencils. I think you're going to be amazed and impressed at what a difference stenciling can make. Make sure you have the right tools. Get good brushes. If you're struggling with stencils, you probably don't have a brush that is easy for you to use. I went with a soft bristle because I struggle with the bristle, the stiff bristle brushes, and this was my solution. And I think if you try my brushes, you're going to absolutely love them. So make sure you have the right tools and just be prepared to be amazed. Okay, I wanted to share a couple things. I have my painter's tools, and if you've not used these yet, let me go this way first. Okay, this was my very first one because I hate doing eyes and circles and ovals and noses, so I came out berries. This was my first one. I think we had 10, 9?
4, 8, 10 now.
10. Okay, this is our latest one. This is called the Foliage Friend. Oh my gosh, guys, you're gonna need this. We've got fall coming up, and look at those little tiny leaves. Who wants to paint those? Nope, not me either. So get a Foliage Friend. It's amazing. Make sure you check out the other painter's tools because it will make your life so much easier. I did last week, I painted this little guy. This is my magic broom. Wow, just a little bit. I think he turned out great. A little bit of sparkle, and yes, I did use a little star stencil on the magic dust trail. Just makes a huge difference. I use my, you bet, my Bubble Buddy for the eyeballs. Absolutely makes your life so much easier. So, okay. I think that was a whirlwind, but we covered a lot of techniques today. I hope that you found some that you're interested in, and you'll take a moment to play around and try. Look at the stencils you have in your stash, because if you're looking at them with one intent, maybe they could be used for some other technique or combined together. So be sure to check out my other YouTube videos. I have a couple more on stenciling. I have a lot of technique videos, and I think you're gonna love them. Lindsay, we got anything else going on?
Just want to say that this subscribe to YouTube. It is free to subscribe. There's no charge. And once you subscribe, you'll get notification as soon as we upload new videos.
Oh yeah, that way you won't miss out. So make sure you subscribe. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me today. And I hope that you've found out a little bit of paint makes a big difference. And I look forward to seeing you on our next adventure.